it became a spend what's necessary kind of moment for him, without having to actually go through having a breach and actually having a problem, having to deal with legal issues and lawyers and governments, because it gets nasty. It can get real nasty real fast.
It's the stories of others. How do you build on the stories and the experiences of others to help sell your case?
We had a ransomware attack. So that gave me a whole lot of political capital in the beginning. That was 3 years ago. But since then, it has been the cybersecurity insurance and HIPAA to the point that we just finished, we had an incident and we were investigated by OCR because of an email account breach. And their findings came back that they said, we're just going to close the case because you're doing all of this stuff. So we know that this wasn't systemic. This was an outlier.
Nobody can afford perfect. And plus perfect changes every day. So it's about how, I like the comment that someone said, it's a if, not a when. I mean, that's just the world we live in today. For everybody else, ransomware, all these attacks have really helped, right? And it's helped us, I tell you, it's helped us in a way to get people to remember, right? Sometimes you do so good and you get all this big chunk of money and you do these things and you're stopping and we talk about it. And then it's like, okay, well, why do I want to spend this more money, right? Why are we doing all this? Well, because it's a never ending project, right? It's a NEP. It always continues. And so these little pop-ups that happen help solidify that, right? Help it keep it fresh in front of mind. So I think those are the advantages to looking at how do you always make sure that you're getting the funding to do the right thing. I think those are the items that help you motivate. So stories of others.
Two things that I found actually very effective to kind of get the investment and the C-suite and executive buy-in to our whole security platform that we implemented in 2019. One was the cost benefit analysis. We are in the healthcare sector, so doing, and we are international. So not only do we have HIPAA and PCI, but we have GDPR, PARPETA, a couple of other international privacy laws that have some pretty stiff fines, and some examples of companies our size. So I did a real quick one-page comparative analysis. Here's healthcare sector. Here's healthcare companies that are our size that are doing similar things to what we're doing, selling medical devices. And here's what happened when they got breached. Here's the fines that they got hit with. Here's the consequences for our international executives who like to travel the world. I'm like, you could get visas revoked. You could get, residencies revoked because you're no longer working here. The sheer cost involved in there. And then I got questioned by one of our C-suites where I said, well, what's the actual risk for my stuff being taken? So I hacked his phone. And in a few short hours, I was able to share some private messages with him and some contact information for partners that were in our network, as well as for some customer data that he had stored on his phone. And I sent it to him. Private message, of course, this is all on the up and up. He knew I was going to try. But yeah, when I started showing him his data, and he's like, oh, and what you want to do will stop this from happening. I said, absolutely. Let me get a trial. Let me show you a proof of concept. And I got a trial for the Defender stack, upgraded a couple licenses so I could go through a 45-day trial, installed the controls on his device, and proved while him sitting right next to me that I was unable to get into his phone because we had a security solution in place. I also showed that I wasn't able to get into his laptop, his computer, any of his accounts because our security platform, the alerts and the alarms were blaring, as they say, a 5-alarm fire kind of thing, literally detecting every step that I tried to take through the network and stopping it, and every step I tried to take through his device and stopped it. And I said, because we would have this solution in place for everybody, we would avoid this many millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars in potential fines. And I'm like, if they get, and I just kind of went over the laws with him and gave him examples and opened his eyes to the fact that the risk could happen, even though he's like, who am I? We're just one company of, millions on the planet, and I'm one of 8 billion people. So why am I special? And I showed him why he was special, and he signed off right then and there, and did not put a limit on what I needed to spend. It became a spend what's necessary kind of moment for him without having to actually go through having a breach and actually having a problem and having to deal with legal issues and lawyers and governments, because it gets nasty. It can get real nasty real fast.
One tool we had implemented about a year ago is Black Kite. It's really a cyber risk platform. And I think a couple of things I really like about that is it provides like 3 different indices, like a ransomware susceptibility index, data breach index, and then they also do some work related to the FAIR framework to try to quantify the financial impact. So I think what's nice about that is it gives you at least a gauge in terms of where you're at from an organization, and then it also, you can put other competitors in there, other vendors, etc. So at least allows you to get basically information that any hacker can give visibility to, so further justification in terms of why maybe some of the controls and things that you're doing actually make sense, or what, and then you can show how it improves it.